If you are thinking about moving up to a bigger house, a better neighborhood, more space for your family, or simply a home that fits your life today, you're probably running into the similar problem that almost every move-up buyer faces. You don't just have to buy a house, you have to sell one and buy one at exactly the same time. And if that sounds stressful, that's because it is. In this video, I want to talk about why move-up buyers often feel stuck, the mistakes that I see people make, and some practical strategies that can make the process a lot smoother and a lot less stressful for you. If you're new to this channel, my name is Michael Hinchliffe, and I've been helping buyers, sellers, and people relocating throughout Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine for more than a decade. My team and I specialize in helping people navigate major transitions, and today we're talking about one of the biggest ones that we work through. This is what I call the move-up buyer's dilemma. The challenge is that your current home is likely your house and your piggy bank. The equity you built is often the key to buying your next property. So every decision that you need to make becomes connected. First, you find a house that you love, and now you need your current house to sell. Or you want to sell your house, and now you need to find somewhere to move. And the more expensive the next house becomes, the more dependent you are on the equity from your current one. And that's where things get stressful. What makes this particularly difficult is that nobody really talks about the emotional side. Everyone talks about interest rates, they talk about inventory, they talk about home prices. The real challenge is that you're trying to coordinate two major life events at the exact same time. So today we're going to talk about the stress that people don't talk about. Let's talk about what actually keeps people awake at night. It's not the mortgage payment. It's questions like, what if my house sells and I can't find anything? Will I be homeless? What if I buy something and my current house doesn't sell? I can't possibly afford to own two homes. What if the perfect house comes on the market before I'm ready? What do I do? What if I have to move more than once? Do we have to pull the kids out of school in the middle of the year to make this work? What happens to the dog during the showings? These are all questions that people struggle with. And one of my favorite is, what if we're living in a house that is constantly being shown for weeks? These are not real estate questions, they're life questions, and they are completely valid. I've had conversations with families who aren't worried about the financial side at all. That'll sort of figure itself out. They were worried about keeping the house clean while raising 3 kids and a golden retriever, because they'd clean the house, turn around, and magically the living room was full of toys again. Sometimes the logistics create more stress than the transaction itself. But here's the crazy part. Most move-up buyers spend all their time worrying about finding the next house. In my experience, that's not usually the hard part. The hard part is creating enough flexibility so that when the right house appears, you're actually in a position to act. The biggest mistake I see is people starting their search before they build a plan. They'll spend 6 months scrolling on Zillow, picking out houses they like. They'll tour open houses every weekend. They'll fall in love with 3 houses that they simply can't buy. And they still don't know how much equity they have, how much cash they're going to walk away with, whether they'll qualify for the next purchase, or what strategy they'll use to coordinate both transactions. Planning is not exciting. Looking at houses is exciting, but planning is usually what creates the success. Are you thinking about relocating north of Boston? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it down below. From top employers to the best hospitals and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making a move. The best part is that this guide is 100% free. That's right, you heard me right. It's just 100% free. So just click the link in the description or the top pinned comment. Hope that helps. So mistake number 2 is assuming there's only one way to do it. Many people think they have exactly 2 choices: sell first or buy first. The reality is that there are countless more paths. So let's talk about a few. Number 1, sell first. The advantage is certainty. You know your budget because you know what your house is going to sell for. You know your proceeds, you know exactly how much money that you're working with. But the downside is timing. You may feel pressure to find the next house quickly, and for some people, that can be incredibly stressful. And in today's market, it can be really tricky if you're contingent on the purchase of your new home. Number 2, the advantage is convenience. If you buy first, you move once. You can prepare your current home after you moved out. Showings become easier. Repairs become easier. Life becomes easier. The downside is carrying 2 properties, 2 mortgages, at least temporarily. And for some buyers, that's just simply not manageable. For some, it can be. Number 3, the rent-back strategy. This is one of my favorite solutions when it fits. You sell your current home, the buyer closes, and then you remain in your property for an agreed about period of time. Maybe it's 30 days, Maybe it's 60 days. In some cases, you can even go longer. And that gives you breathing room. And breathing room is incredibly valuable during the move. Number 4, bridge financing or equity access. A lot of homeowners assume that they need to wait for a closing before accessing their equity. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't, and the market has gotten a lot more creative. Bridge loans, HELOCs, and other financing tools can sometimes provide options that people didn't even realize existed. I'm not saying they're right for everyone, they're not. I'm saying it's worth understanding the possibilities before ruling them out. Hey, if you find this helpful, hit the like and subscribe button. I put out videos every week focused on buying and selling and relocating and living north of Boston and throughout southern New Hampshire. And I'd love to know in the comments, if you're thinking about moving, what's the biggest thing holding you back right now? What's keeping you up at night? So here's what successful move-up buyers are doing differently. The people who seem calm during this process usually aren't lucky. They're prepared. They start earlier. They understand their equity. They talk with lenders before they need financing. They begin preparing their home before it's listed, long before they even want to put it on the market. And they understand their non-negotiables. They know what compromises they're willing and not willing to make. And most importantly, they're focused on creating options because options reduce stress. If your first plan doesn't work, you have a second. If your second doesn't work, you have a third. The goal isn't perfection, it's flexibility. So without getting into all the details, I recently worked with a family that needed more space. They were bursting at the seams. Like many move-up buyers, they had assumed that they had to wait. After we mapped everything out, they realized that they had more options than they thought. We explored financing, we looked at timing, and that was the key for this one. We discussed what would happen if their current home sold quickly and what would happen if it didn't. The result wasn't that we found a magic solution. The result was that they stopped feeling stuck. They were suddenly able to breathe. And that's often the biggest breakthrough. Not finding the perfect house, finding clarity. Finding that clarity means everything. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the idea of selling one house while buying another, that's totally normal. You're trying to coordinate finances, timelines, emotions, logistics, family schedules, and one of the largest investments you'll ever make, and that's a lot. The good news is that there are usually more options than people even realize. The families who have the smoothest moves aren't necessarily the smartest, they aren't the wealthiest, and they aren't even necessarily the luckiest. They are the ones who started planning long before they needed to make a decision. Because when the right house finally appears, preparation creates opportunity, and opportunity creates confidence. If you're considering a move anywhere north of Boston or into southern New Hampshire and Maine, my team and I help people navigate these transitions every day. Whether you're 6 weeks away from moving or simply wondering if a move even makes sense in the next couple of years, we're always happy to have a conversation to help you understand your options. And if you've been through a move-up purchase before, drop your biggest lesson in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you learned, and it may even help somebody who's going through that challenge right now.